Okay, let's be real for a sec. Budgeting with credit, it's not exactly the most thrilling topic, right?
Right.
But stick with us on this one.
Okay.
We're going deep on an article called 10 Best Ticks for Budgeting with Credit, and we're going to pull out the stuff that can actually make a difference.
Yeah.
What jumped out at you?
It's interesting. The article kind of flips the script on how we think about credit.
Okay.
It's not about like being afraid of debt. It's more about using credit strategically to actually reach your goals, whatever those might be.
I like that.
Yeah.
So it's less about like restriction and more about sort of empowerment.
Exactly. Yeah. And one of the first things they emphasize is understanding your credit score.
Okay.
They use the phrase financial report card, which I thought was a really good way to think about it.
Yeah, it's like a grade that tells lenders how responsible you are with money.
Right.
But why does this matter for like everyday budgeting?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it's not just about getting a loan approved, right?
Right.
A higher credit score, it can unlock better interest rates.
Right.
And that can save you a lot of money.
Oh, but
For example, let's say you've got a $5,000 balance on a credit card with an 18% APR.
okay.
If you're only paying the minimum, it could take you years to pay that off and cost you thousands in interest.
Wow.
But if you just increase your payment even little, like $100 a month, you could shave years off that repayment and save a ton of money on that interest.
So good credit score is like a secret weapon for saving money.
Absolutely. And then all those savings, that gives you more breathing room in your budget, potentially freeing up money for you to invest in things you want to do, like buying a house or maybe starting your own business.
Makes sense. It all comes back to that empowerment thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, speaking of feeling empowered, the article talks a lot about setting a monthly credit limit for yourself.
Right.
They say it's not just about avoiding debt, but
Mm-hmm.
there are psychological benefits too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And they kind of break it down into four main areas, I guess. Clarity, control, confidence, and then ultimately liberation.
Okay, so clarity, what do they mean by that?
So clarity basically means you're setting really clear boundaries for yourself.
Right.
So you know exactly how much you can spend every month, and that can prevent those moments. Like when you're looking at your bank statement, you're like, wait, how did I?
Oh, yeah. How did that happen?
Yeah, exactly. So it can help prevent those moments that can really throw your budget off.
Right. It's like a built-in kind of safety net.
Absolutely.
And that sense of control, that probably leads to the confidence part too.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So when you're the one who's setting the limits and you're making deliberate decisions about how you're spending your money, you start to trust yourself more.
Yeah.
You build that financial confidence, which can be incredibly empowering.
And all that leads to that liberation that they talk about. It's like breaking free from that stress of overspending or feeling trapped by debt. When I first got my credit card, I didn't set a limit. And let's just say I learned my lesson the hard way.
Yeah.
But having that limit in place now really helps me stay on track.
Yeah. And that's a great point. It's not about depriving yourself. It's about being intentional and making choices that align with what you actually value.
Yeah. It's about taking control instead of letting it control you.
Exactly.
Which leads perfectly to the next point in the article.
Okay.
Tracking your spending habits.
Right.
Now, I know a lot of people hear tracking and think spreadsheets and all that.
Yeah.
But the article actually uses this phrase, progress, not perfection.
Ah.
I love that.
Yes.
So it's not about being obsessed with every single penny,
No.
but it's about building that awareness of where your money is actually going.
Exactly. Yeah. And luckily these days, there are so many apps that make it really easy to do that. Have you ever used a budgeting app yourself?
Oh, yeah, totally. There are some amazing ones out there. I've been using Name It Budgeting app, and it's really been a game changer. It helps me see patterns I wouldn't have noticed otherwise. Like that time I realized I was spending way too much on takeout coffee.
That's so common. I think we've all been there.
Yeah.
But once you have that awareness, you can start making adjustments.
Yeah, I mean, maybe cut back on that coffee a bit
Right.
and use that money towards something a little more meaningful.
Exactly. It's about aligning your spending with your values and your goals.
So it's less about deprivation and more about being mindful and intentional.
Exactly.
I like that.
And that kind of brings us to another crucial step, prioritizing those essential expenses. The article says focusing on these first can lead to freedom to enjoy life.
Okay. So I guess that means making sure you have a really solid foundation before you start, adding in all the extras. But what exactly?
Well, they list four main categories: housing, utilities, groceries, and transportation. So basically, the things you absolutely need to just live and function in society.
Yeah. It's like building a house. You need a strong foundation before you can start adding in all the bells and whistles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Perfect analogy. So by prioritizing those essential expenses, you're basically ensuring that you're meeting your basic needs first,
Right.
which then creates that stability in your budget and reduces that financial uncertainty.
It's all about building that solid foundation so you can actually enjoy the rest of your life without constantly worrying about money.
Exactly.
And speaking of those bells and whistles,
Okay.
let's talk about using rewards wisely.
Right.
I think this is something a lot of people get excited about,
Mm-hmm.
especially, our listeners. They might be interested in travel.
Yeah.
Everybody loves a good travel hack.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So what does the article say when it comes to those rewards programs?
So the key here is to choose programs that align with your actual spending habits rather than chasing the biggest bonus points.
Okay.
So for example, if you dine out a lot, a card that offers dining rewards would make a lot more sense than like one focused on gas or groceries.
So it's about maximizing those rewards you earn on things you're already spending money on anyway.
Precisely. And then, they suggest using those rewards strategically, maybe
Mhm.
putting them toward a vacation
Mm-hmm.
or like a larger purchase you've been saving up for.
Okay. So we've covered understanding our credit score, setting spending limits, tracking our habits, prioritizing essentials, and using rewards wisely. But now it's time to talk about the advice we hear all the time. Paying more than the minimum on your credit card. Everybody knows we should do it, but why is it so important?
Yeah. So the article outlines 4 key benefits. You reduce the amount of interest you pay, you shorten the overall repayment timeline, you boost your credit score, and this is maybe the most important one, you gain a sense of peace of mind.
Right, and that's where it gets really interesting. Right? It's not just about those financial benefits, but those emotional ones. It's like a weight lifted off your shoulders.
Absolutely. Paying more than that minimum, it sends a powerful message to yourself that you're in charge of your finances. And you're actively working toward a debt-free future.
Which then frees you up to pursue things that actually matter to you.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, let's move on to a topic that can be tricky for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Avoiding those impulse purchases. I'm definitely guilty of this myself. Like that time I bought a humorous example of an impulse purchase on sale. I didn't even need it.
Oh, yeah. I think we've all been there. The article has some really great tips for combating those urges, though.
Okay.
Identify your triggers, implement a cooling off period before you buy something, and avoid shopping when you're feeling emotional.
Yeah, it's all about recognizing those moments of weakness and having a plan to resist temptation.
Exactly, because
Yeah.
those small impulse purchases, they can add up and sabotage your budget.
Right. Speaking of protecting ourselves, let's talk about creating an emergency fund. It's another one of those pieces of advice we hear a lot, but what makes it so crucial?
So it's all about peace of mind, right? Knowing that you have that financial cushion to fall back on if something unexpected pops up, it can dramatically reduce financial stress.
Right, and they say you don't have to start with some huge amount. Even $500 can make a difference.
Absolutely. It's about building the habit of saving and gradually increasing your emergency fund over time.
Okay, so it's about taking those small steps towards a more secure financial future.
Exactly. Now let's move on to a tip that might seem small, but can actually make a big impact: reviewing your statements regularly.
Oh yeah, I've got a friend who actually caught a fraudulent charge on their credit card just by taking the time to look over their statement.
That's great. It's not just about catching those errors, though.
Okay.
It's also about staying on top of your spending.
Okay, and making sure it aligns with your budget.
Yeah, and it actually ties back to the credit utilization we were talking about earlier. Keeping that low is key for maintaining a healthy credit score. So by reviewing those statements, you can catch any overspending before it even impacts your score.
So it's like taking proactive control of your financial health.
Exactly. And finally, let's just do a really quick overview of some key credit terms that everyone should know.
All right, lay them on me. What are the must-knows?
So the article highlights APR, credit limit, minimum payment, and of course, your credit score. Understanding those terms is essential for navigating the world of credit and making smart decisions with your finances.
It's like learning the language of finance so you can advocate for yourself.
Exactly. And with that knowledge, you'll be well equipped to traverse the financial landscape effectively.
So what are some of the most common mistakes you see people make with credit?
One of the biggest ones is not actually understanding the terms and conditions of their credit cards.
Okay.
You know,
Mhm.
People often just focus on those rewards or low introductory rates without fully understanding the long-term implications.
Right. It's like signing a contract without reading the fine print.
Exactly.
What
Yep.
else?
Another common one is only making that minimum payment every month.
Right. We talked about that.
Yeah. As we discussed, that can cost you a lot in interest and keep you in debt way longer than you need to be.
Yeah, it's like taking the scenic route to financial freedom when there's a much faster highway available.
Exactly. And people also tend to underestimate the power of compound interest, both for and against them. When it comes to debt, interest can really snowball out of control,
Right.
but it can also work in your favor when you're investing and saving.
So it's a double-edged sword.
Hmm.
Understanding how it works is really crucial for making smart financial decisions.
Absolutely. And another mistake I see is people not actually taking advantage of all the resources that are available to them.
Mhm.
There are so many websites, apps, and even financial advisors. They can provide so much guidance and support.
Oh, yeah. It's like having a whole team of financial cheerleaders on your side.
Exactly. And they can help you create a plan that's tailored to your specific goals and circumstances.
So we've talked about common mistakes. Let's
Yeah.
flip the script. What are some power moves people can make to use credit to their advantage?
Okay. Well, one of the most powerful things you can do is automate your finances. Just set up automatic payments for your bills, credit card payments, helps you avoid those late fees and missed payments, which can obviously damage your credit score.
Yeah, automation is a lifesaver.
Right. It takes all the stress out of remembering due dates.
Yeah.
It's like having a personal finance assistant working for you 24/7.
Okay, so what else?
Another power move is to regularly check your credit report for errors. You'd be surprised how often mistakes happen.
Oh, yeah.
And those can actually negatively impact your score.
Oh, okay.
So it's like being your own advocate
Right.
and making sure your credit report accurately reflects your financial history.
And if you find any errors, you could dispute them with the credit bureau.
Exactly.
What else?
Another power move is to actively work on building your credit score.
Okay.
This can involve things like paying all your bills on time, keeping your credit utilization low, and diversifying your credit mix.
So it's like building this really strong profile that shows, your financial responsibility.
Exactly. And this can open up so many doors, better interest rates, loan terms, even job opportunities.
It's about creating this positive financial narrative for yourself.
Exactly. And remember, building good credit takes time, it takes effort,
Yeah.
but it's an investment that really pays off.
Patience and persistence are key.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about some strategies for maximizing those credit card rewards we were discussing.
Yes. Let's get strategic.
Okay, so first, you've got to choose a rewards card that really aligns with how you spend your money. If you travel a lot, get a travel rewards card. If you spend a lot at the grocery store or on gas, choose a card that gives you bonus points in those categories.
So it's about tailoring your rewards to your lifestyle.
Exactly. And another tip, take advantage of sign-up bonuses. Many cards offer really generous bonuses if you spend a certain amount within the first few months.
Okay. It's like a welcome gift for using your card responsibly.
Right. But just be sure to read all the fine print so you can meet the spending requirements without going overboard.
It's all about being strategic and maximizing those rewards without falling into a debt trap.
Exactly.
And speaking of avoiding debt, let's talk about some steps you can take to protect yourself from that credit card debt.
Okay.
What are some of the best defenses?
One of the best ways to prevent that credit card debt is to treat your credit card like it's a debit card.
Okay.
Only charge what you can actually afford to pay off at the end of the month.
So staying within your means, avoiding that temptation to overspend.
Exactly. Another strategy, create a realistic budget that tracks your income and your expenses. This helps you see where your money's actually going
Right.
and identify any areas where you might be able to cut back.
So budgeting is like giving your finances a roadmap to success.
Exactly. It's like having a financial GPS that guides you towards your goals.
I love that. So budgeting isn't about restriction. It's about empowerment
Exactly.
and clarity.
Yeah. And if you do find yourself in credit card debt, don't panic.
Okay.
There are steps you can take.
So what if someone's feeling overwhelmed by credit card debt? What should they do?
Okay, so first, stop using your cards.
Yeah.
And focus on paying down those balances.
Right. So it's like hitting the pause button.
Exactly.
Prioritizing debt repayment.
Right. And, there are different debt repayment strategies you can try.
Okay. Like what?
The snowball method
Okay.
or the avalanche method.
What's the snowball method?
So with the snowball method, you're paying off your smallest debt first, regardless of the interest rate.
Okay.
And that just creates the sense of momentum. you know?
Motivation.
Okay, so it's like getting a quick win.
Right.
Okay.
And then the avalanche method focuses on paying off your highest interest debt first to save money on interest charges. Okay, so that's more of a strategic approach.
Exactly.
Okay. And what if you're struggling to make those payments?
Yeah. If that's the case, reach out to your creditors. See if they have any hardship programs or, different payment options available.
Okay, so remember, you're not alone. There are resources out there.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, don't be afraid to seek out some professional guidance from a financial advisor if you need help creating a plan to manage your debt.
Okay. They can provide that expert advice that's tailored to your situation. So I feel like we've covered so much here.
Yeah.
From just the basics of credit to strategies for managing debt and maximizing those rewards. What are some key takeaways you want our listeners to remember?
Well, I think one of the biggest takeaways is that credit is a powerful tool. It can be used for good or bad. It's all about how you manage it.
Right. It's not inherently good or evil. It's about the choices that you make.
Exactly. And it's important to approach credit with that sense of responsibility and awareness.
So it's about being proactive and taking control of your financial future.
Absolutely. And remember, financial literacy is an ongoing thing. It's a journey, not a destination.
Yeah. It's about continuous learning and growth.
Right. The more you learn about credit and personal finance, the more empowered you'll be to make those informed decisions that support your financial well-being.
To stay curious, keep learning.
Exactly. Now let's talk about a concept that comes up a lot in discussions about credit utilization.
Okay. Credit utilization.
Yeah.
What exactly is that, and why is it so important?
So think of your credit limit like a pie. The amount that you owe is the slice that you've eaten. Credit utilization is basically the percentage of your available credit that you're using.
So how much of that pie you've already eaten?
Exactly. And it's really important to keep that low for a healthy credit score.
Okay. Why is that? How does that impact our score?
So lenders, they use credit utilization as an indicator of how well you manage your credit. If that ratio is high, it might signal to them that you're relying too heavily on credit. And you might be a risk for overspending.
So it's a red flag.
Exactly. They might see you as a higher risk borrower,
Gotcha.
be less likely to approve you, or, they may offer you less favorable terms.
So it's all about managing that credit wisely to make a good impression on those lenders.
Exactly.
So what are some things we can do to keep that utilization low?
So one of the easiest ways is to pay your credit card balances in full every month.
Okay.
That keeps your utilization at zero.
Perfect world scenario.
All right, exactly. But if you can't pay it off in full each month, just aim to keep it under 30%.
Okay, 30%. What's the magic about that number?
So staying below that 30% just demonstrates that you're using credit responsibly. You're not maxing out your cards.
Like showing them you're in control.
Exactly. And that can have a positive impact on your score.
So it's like a secret weapon for boosting that credit score
Yeah,
and accessing those better opportunities.
exactly. Now let's talk about another aspect of credit management, diversifying your credit mix.
Okay. Credit mix.
Yeah.
What is that? Why is it important?
So your credit mix refers to the different types of credit accounts that you have, like credit cards, installment loans, mortgages.
Okay.
Having a diverse mix can actually positively impact your score
Oh, okay. How so?
because it shows those lenders that you can manage different types of debt responsibly.
Gotcha. So it's like having a well-rounded portfolio.
Exactly. Lenders like to see that you can handle things like revolving credit, like those credit cards,
Right.
and installment credit, like maybe a car loan or a student loan.
So it's about demonstrating your financial versatility.
Exactly. And it can actually help lower your overall credit utilization, which, like we said, is good for your score.
So it's a win-win.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now let's move on to another important part of credit, understanding your credit report.
All right. Credit reports. They can seem a little mysterious.
Yeah.
What exactly are they, and why should we care about them?
So your credit report it's basically a detailed history that tracks your credit activity. It contains information about your accounts, your payment history, your debt levels, other financial data.
So it's like a financial resume
Yep.
for those lenders.
Exactly. Lenders use it to assess your creditworthiness and decide whether to approve you for loans or credit cards.
So where can we access those reports? How often should we be checking them?
So you're entitled to a free credit report from each of the three major bureaus, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, once a year.
Okay, so 3 free reports per year.
Yes.
Where can we get them?
You can get them at annualcreditreport.com. It's the only website that's actually authorized by the federal government to provide those free reports.
Okay, annualcreditreport.com. Got it.
Yeah.
So what should we be looking for when we review those reports?
The most important thing is to look for any errors, inaccuracies. This could be like incorrect personal information, accounts that don't belong to you, inaccurate payment histories.
So it's like doing a financial audit to make sure everything is in order.
Exactly. And, if you do find errors, you can dispute them with the credit bureau.
Okay. So be proactive. Advocate for yourself.
Exactly. Now, let's talk about some credit myths that I hear often.
Okay, yeah. Let's bust some myths. What are some of the ones you see the most?
Okay. So one common myth is that checking your credit score will lower it. This
Right.
is not true. Checking your own score is considered a soft inquiry, and that does not affect your score.
Okay, so we can check our score without fear.
Exactly, yeah. Another myth is that closing those old credit cards will improve your credit score.
Yeah.
This can actually hurt your score because it shortens your credit history and can increase your credit utilization.
So keep those old accounts open.
Right. As long as they're in good standing, they can actually help.
Okay, so it's about maintaining that long positive credit history.
Exactly. And another myth I hear a lot is that you need a lot of debt to build good credit.
Okay.
Also not true. You can build good credit by using it responsibly, even if you only have a little bit of debt.
So quality over quantity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about demonstrating those responsible habits, regardless of how much debt you have.
So it's all about making smart choices and using credit to your advantage.
Exactly.
Okay. Let's talk about credit card interest rates.
All right.
They can be a real headache. What are the key things we need to know?
So one of the most important things is that credit card interest rates, they can vary a lot, depending on your credit score, the type of card you have, even the market conditions.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all thing.
Exactly. People with higher credit scores, they're usually going to get lower interest rates.
Okay.
While people with lower scores, they may have to pay higher rates.
It's another reason why that good credit is so important.
Absolutely. So let's break down the different types of credit card interest rates that you might see.
Okay. What are the most common ones?
So one of the most common types is the purchase APR,
Okay.
and that's the rate that's applied to any purchases that you make.
So that's the rate that kicks in when you buy something.
Exactly. Then there's the balance transfer APR,
Okay.
and that applies to balances that you transfer from one card to another.
Okay, so the rate if you move a balance.
Right. And then there's the cash advance APR. That's the rate that's applied to cash advances you take out from your card.
Cash advances. Aren't those usually pretty expensive?
Yes. Those APRs are typically much higher.
So probably best to avoid those if you can.
Absolutely. It can be a really slippery slope.
Okay, so we've talked about those different types. Now let's talk about some strategies for minimizing those interest charges.
Okay. So one of the most effective ways is to pay your balance in full each month.
That's like the golden rule.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. But if you can't pay in full, try to make more than that minimum payment to reduce how much interest you're accruing.
So be proactive.
Yeah.
And chip away at it.
Exactly. Another strategy is to consider a balance transfer to a card with a lower interest rate.
Right. A balance transfer can be a good way to save some money.
Yeah, they can be, but just make sure you factor in those balance transfer fees
Right.
and make sure you have a plan to pay off that balance before the promotional period ends.
So it's all about being strategic, making sure it benefits you.
Exactly. Now, let's talk about something that's often overlooked. The emotional side of credit.
Oh, the emotional side. Okay, that's an interesting perspective. What are your thoughts?
So credit, it can be a really powerful emotional trigger for a lot of people. It can bring up feelings of stress, anxiety, shame, even excitement.
Right, so it's not just about the numbers. It's connected to our feelings, our sense of worth.
Exactly. And it's important to be aware of those connections and how they might influence our decisions.
Okay, so it's about developing some emotional intelligence when it comes to credit.
Absolutely. For example, if you tend to overspend when you're stressed or you're feeling down,
Yeah.
try to find some healthier ways to cope that don't involve using credit.
So it's about breaking those negative patterns.
Right.
Finding those healthier ways to manage your emotions.
Exactly. And if you are struggling with credit card debt, don't be afraid to reach out for support.
Right. Don't let shame or fear prevent you from getting the help you need.
Exactly. There are resources available.
Okay. So what are some steps we can take to foster a more positive relationship with credit?
Okay, so one of the most important steps is to just educate yourself.
Knowledge is power.
Exactly. The more you understand about credit, the more confident you'll be in making those informed decisions.
Okay. So become financially savvy.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. Another strategy is to set some realistic goals for yourself
Okay.
and actually create a plan for how you're going to achieve them.
Right. So goal setting gives you that direction. It keeps you motivated.
It does, and it helps you stay focused on your priorities.
So it's about aligning your credit usage with your overall financial goals.
Right. And, it's important to keep track of your spending, monitor those reports regularly so you can stay on top of everything.
So it's about being proactive,
Yeah.
taking ownership of your financial well-being.
Exactly. And
That's-
don't be afraid to seek out support, from financial professionals or even friends and family if you need help managing your credit.
It's okay to ask for help.
It is. And remember,
Okay.
building a healthy relationship with credit, it takes time and effort, but it's worth it.
Yep. It's an investment in your future
Mm,
and your overall well-being.
absolutely.
So kind of shifting gears here a little bit, I want to talk about something that can be tricky, especially for, people who are just starting out with credit or maybe trying to rebuild their credit, after maybe a financial misstep or two. It's kind of a
Mhm.
catch-22. You need credit to build credit.
Yeah.
So what advice does the article have for people who are, new to credit or trying to improve their credit history?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's something a lot of people struggle with. So, one of the best ways to start building credit from scratch is to become an authorized user on someone else's card. Maybe a family member, a friend, someone who's responsible with their credit.
Oh, okay. So you're basically piggybacking off of their good credit habits.
Exactly. Just make sure it's somebody that you trust, someone who pays their bills on time and keeps their utilization low. Their positive habits will actually reflect on your credit report, too.
So it's like a crash course in responsible credit use.
Yeah.
Okay. What if you don't have someone who's willing to, you know, add you to their account?
Another option is a secured credit card.
Okay.
With this type of card, you have to put down a security deposit,
Okay.
and that usually becomes your credit limit.
So it's like you're putting down collateral to show that you're serious.
Exactly. Yeah. So for lenders, secured cards are lower risk. And if you use that card responsibly and you're making those on-time payments, you can start to establish a positive credit history.
Okay. So it's those first steps towards building a solid foundation.
Right. And once you've built that history, you can usually transition to a traditional unsecured card, maybe with some more perks and benefits.
Okay. So it's like you're leveling up.
Right.
Now, what about those who are trying to rebuild their credit after maybe, some mistakes?
Yeah.
Any specific advice for them?
Yeah, definitely. Rebuilding credit, it takes time, it takes patience, but it's totally possible.
Okay.
One of the most important things is to consistently make all of your payments on time, whether it's your credit cards, loans, even your utilities.
So consistency is key. It's like showing those lenders that
Yeah.
you've learned from the past. You're committed now.
Exactly. And another really important step is to pay down any outstanding debt as quickly as you can.
Yeah.
Make a plan, stick to it.
So it's like chipping away at a mountain,
Yeah.
one step at a time.
Yeah. And while you're doing that, rebuilding, avoid applying for any new credit unless it's absolutely necessary.
Right, because each application can potentially hurt your score.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's best to minimize those inquiries while you're focusing on rebuilding.
So just to reiterate, rebuilding credit is a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly.
Be patient, stay consistent, you will see results.
You will.
It's a journey of a financial transformation.
Absolutely.
Now, speaking of transformations, let's talk about something that often comes up when we talk about credit. Identity theft.
Okay.
Pretty scary stuff. What are some steps we can take to protect ourselves from becoming victims?
Yeah, it's crucial these days to really be protecting yourself. So, one of the most important things you can do is to regularly monitor your credit reports. We talked about those free reports. Look for any suspicious activity.
It's like being a detective for your own financial life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Pay close attention to any accounts or inquiries that you just don't recognize. And if you see something fishy, report it to the credit bureau right away.
Take action, minimize the damage.
Exactly. Another really important step is to be cautious about the information that you share online. Be wary of those phishing scams.
Yeah, those are everywhere.
They are.
Yeah.
So be wary of emails, text messages, even phone calls from people you don't know, especially those that are asking for personal or financial information, or if they're urging you to click on a link that just looks suspicious.
If it feels off, it probably is.
Yeah, exactly. Always better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah.
And if you're ever unsure, just reach out to that company directly. Use their official contact information. Verify that the request is actually legit.
Trust, but
Yeah,
verify.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
What else?
Also, make sure you're using strong, unique passwords for all your online accounts and enable that two-factor authentication whenever you can.
Right. Two-factor authentication is like that extra layer of protection. It can be a hassle, but it's worth it. Oh, absolutely. And be mindful of your surroundings. When you're using an ATM or if you're making a purchase online in a public place.
Right. Watch out for those shoulder surfers.
Exactly. Yeah. Just a little bit of vigilance can go a long way in preventing identity theft.
It's all about being proactive, taking those steps to protect yourself. Okay. Shifting gears a little bit here, I want to talk about something that I think a lot of people struggle with, the psychology of spending.
Yeah.
Sometimes we make decisions with money that don't seem rational. What are some of the things that influence those spending habits?
Yeah, that's so important to be aware of. Our brains are wired to respond to certain triggers that can lead us to make those impulse purchases or, just decisions that we later regret.
So our emotions are kind of hijacking our rational thinking.
Exactly, yeah. And one of the biggest culprits is something called retail therapy. We turn to shopping to boost our mood, or we use it as a reward, even when it might not make sense financially.
Oh, I'm totally guilty of that. Little retail therapy to lift the spirits.
Yeah.
But those short-term boosts can have some long-term consequences.
Exactly. So it's just important to be mindful of those triggers and find healthier ways to cope with stress, or reward ourselves without throwing our financial goals off track.
Right. So maybe instead of buying those shoes you don't need, you treat yourself to an experience.
Right.
Or invest in something that's aligned with your long-term goals.
Exactly. Another thing that can lead us to overspend is that idea of keeping up with the Joneses.
Oh, yeah.
We're always comparing ourselves to others, feeling pressured to maintain a certain lifestyle, even if it might not be the best for us.
Social media definitely makes that worse. It's so easy to get caught in that comparison trap and feel like you're falling behind if you're not buying all the latest gadgets or, taking extravagant vacations.
Exactly. Yeah. It's important to remember that everybody's financial journey is different.
Right.
Focus on your own goals, your own values, not some unrealistic standard that you're seeing out there.
It's about defining success on your own terms.
Exactly.
Creating a life that feels good for you, not trying to impress other people.
Right. And speaking of defining success, let's talk about setting some financial goals.
Okay, financial goals.
Yeah.
What are some tips for setting goals that we can actually achieve?
Okay. Well, one of the most effective frameworks is the SMART goal method. Have you heard of that?
Yeah. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Exactly.
A recipe for success.
It is. So let's break that down.
Okay.
So specific, that means it's clearly defined. There's no ambiguity. So instead of just saying, I want to save more money, a specific goal would be, I want to save $5,000 for a down payment on a new car.
So really paint a picture of what you want.
Exactly. Measurable means that you can track your progress.
Okay.
So, with that down payment example, you could track how much you're saving every month, every quarter, just to see how you're doing.
So it's like having that scoreboard.
Right. Now, achievable, that means that your goals are realistic, given your current finances and your resources. Set challenging goals, but they have to be attainable so you can stay motivated.
So find that sweet spot. Push yourself, but set yourself up for success.
Exactly. Relevant goals, they should be aligned with your values, your priorities, your overall life goals.
Okay. So it's not just about the money. It's about what the money represents.
Yeah.
What it'll allow you to do.
Exactly. And then time-bound. That means they have a deadline.
Okay.
So with the down payment example, maybe set a deadline of 2 years to save that $5,000. Having that deadline, it creates that sense of urgency, keeps you accountable.
Right, so you're not just, loosey-goosey with it.
Exactly. So by setting those SMART goals, you're setting yourself up for success.
It's a roadmap to those financial dreams.
Exactly. Now let's talk about something that's closely related to goals. Budgeting.
Okay, budgeting.
Yeah.
It's a word that can have a lot of different meanings for people. Some people think it's empowering, some people think it's restrictive.
Right.
What's your take? Why is it so important?
So for me, I see budgeting as a way to feel empowered. It's not about restricting your freedom. It's about actually taking control
Okay.
and aligning how you spend your money with your goals and values.
It's like giving your money a purpose.
Exactly. So when you create a budget, you're making conscious decisions about where your money's going to go.
Right, so it's less about deprivation, more about being intentional.
Exactly. There are different budgeting methods out there, so it's about finding one that works for you, that fits your personality, your lifestyle.
Okay, so what are some of the most popular methods?
So one popular one is the 50-30-20 budget.
Okay.
So 50% of your after-tax income goes to needs, 30% to wants, and 20% to savings and debt repayment.
Okay, that's a good starting point.
It is. Another popular one is the envelope system,
Okay.
where you divide your cash into different envelopes, like groceries, entertainment, transportation. And once that envelope is empty, you're done spending in that category.
So that's good for people who might overspend in certain categories.
Right, exactly. And then there's also zero-based budgeting,
Okay.
where you assign every single dollar a job.
So every dollar has a mission.
Exactly. So there's no room for money that you don't know where it went.
Okay, so it's all about finding the method that works best for you.
Mm.
And that helps you achieve your goals.
Exactly, yeah. And budgeting, it's not a one-time thing. It's a process,
Right.
You have to be willing to review it, adjust it as needed, as your income changes, expenses, your goals.
So it's about being flexible and adapting.
Exactly.
Now let's talk about something that goes hand in hand with budgeting, saving money. We all know we should be doing it,
Right.
but it can be tough to make it a priority. What are your tips for, making it a little easier and more achievable?
So one of the most effective ways is to automate it, just like you would automate those bill payments.
Okay.
Just set up automatic transfers from your checking account to your savings account. Do it every month.
So you've got that financial assistant working for you in the background.
Exactly. It takes all the willpower out of it.
Right.
Ensures that you're consistently saving.
So you're paying yourself first.
Exactly. Another tip is to track your spending, identify areas where you can maybe cut back or find some extra savings.
Yeah. You'd be surprised how all those little things can add up.
Oh, they do. And once you can see your spending habits, you can make more informed decisions about where to, make some adjustments.
You're spending a little makeover.
Right. And another tip is to set some specific savings goals, just to keep yourself motivated.
Having that destination in mind.
Yeah. Whether you're saving for a down payment on a house, a vacation, retirement, having that tangible goal will really fuel your savings efforts.
Right, so your savings are working for you.
Exactly. Now let's talk about something that can feel overwhelming, but it's really important for building that long-term wealth.
And that's investing.
Yeah.
It can be a little intimidating, especially for people who are just starting out.
I get it. Yeah, it can seem daunting. But it's really important for, building wealth over time and reaching those financial goals that you have. The key is to just start with the basics, and gradually expand your knowledge and your portfolio.
So take it step by step.
Exactly. And before you even think about investing, you've got to have that solid financial foundation.
Okay. So what does that mean? What's that foundation look like?
So first of all, you should have an emergency fund, just to cover those unexpected expenses.
Right, that financial safety net.
Exactly. And then secondly, you should pay down any high interest debt that you have, like those credit cards, because that can really hinder your ability to build wealth.
So it's like clearing the path for your investments to grow.
Exactly. And once you've done those two things, you can start looking at different investment options.
Okay, so let's dive into that a little bit. What are some of the most common ways to invest?
Okay. So one of the most common, and it's really accessible, is the stock market.
Okay. The stock market can feel like a roller coaster at times.
Yeah.
What are some of the things to keep in mind when you're investing in stocks?
So investing in stocks is basically buying shares of ownership in publicly traded companies.
Okay.
It definitely comes with some risk,
Yeah.
but it also has the potential for, really significant returns if you're in it for the long haul.
So it's a long game.
Yeah.
Ride out those fluctuations.
Exactly, yeah. And it's important to diversify, spread your money across different companies, industries, and asset classes just to reduce your risk.
So diversification is like a financial safety net.
It is. Another popular option is bonds.
Okay. Bonds.
Hmm.
Those are often seen as more conservative, right?
Right.
How do those work?
So bonds are basically loans that you make to governments or corporations.
Mhm.
They usually offer a lower return than stocks, but they're considered a little less risky.
So bonds are a good choice for people who maybe want a more stable return.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then there's also real estate, which can be a good long-term investment.
Okay. Real estate. That's a pretty big investment. What are some of the things to keep in mind with that?
Yeah, so investing in real estate can involve buying, holding, and selling properties. It can offer some income potential through, rental income. And as property values go up, you have that appreciation potential.
Right. So it's about finding the right properties in the right places and holding on to them for the long term.
Exactly. Now, these are just a few options. The best approach for you will really depend on how much risk you're willing to take, what your goals are, and, how long you're planning to invest.
Right. So it's about finding the right investments that fit you.
Exactly. And it's always a good idea to talk to a financial advisor to get some advice and create a plan.
Right. They could provide that guidance, help you navigate that complex world of investing.
Exactly. Now, let's shift gears a little bit here and talk about something that I think is often overlooked in personal finance. Negotiation.
Oh, negotiation. I love that. It's like unlocking all those hidden savings and opportunities. What are some areas where we can negotiate to improve our finances?
You'd be surprised how many aspects of our financial lives are actually negotiable. You just have to be willing to ask.
You don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate.
Right, exactly. One really good area is service providers like your cable company, internet provider, even your gym.
Oh, yeah, those bills.
Exactly. So don't be afraid to call them up, ask for a better rate, maybe switch to a different plan that's more affordable.
It's like playing a game of financial chess.
It is.
Yeah.
And if you're not happy with their initial offer, push back or even threaten to take your business somewhere else.
Yeah, a little healthy competition.
Right.
Okay. What else?
Another area where negotiating can be really helpful is salary negotiations.
Ooh, yeah, salary negotiations.
So whether you're starting a new job or you're just asking for a raise, it's so important to advocate for yourself and negotiate a salary that actually reflects your value and your skills.
Right, so you're owning your value, not being afraid to ask for what you deserve.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do your research, be prepared, and come to the table with examples to support your request.
Okay.
And don't be afraid to counter their offer if it's not what you were expecting.
So approach those conversations with confidence
Mm.
and a clear understanding of your worth.
Absolutely. Another area where you can use those negotiation skills is when you're dealing with debt.
Okay, dealing with that, yeah.
If you're having trouble making your payments on your credit cards or loans, reach out to your creditors. Explain your situation.
Right, communication is key.
It is, yeah. And they may be willing to work with you.
Great.
Create a payment plan, lower your interest rate. They may even be able to forgive some of your debt.
Okay, it's always worth asking.
Yeah.
The worst they can say is no.
Exactly. And lastly, don't forget those everyday situations.
Hmm?
Whether you're haggling at a flea market, negotiating the price of a car, maybe asking for a discount, when you're buying something big. That willingness to negotiate can save you a lot of money over time.
Yeah, it's all about that mindset.
Yeah,
Looking for those opportunities to, advocate for yourself, get the best deals.
absolutely, yeah. It's a skill that you can learn. You can get better at it over time.
Right.
And it can really pay off.
So it's like having that secret weapon for financial success.
It is.
Okay, so let's shift gears again. I want to talk about a topic that's becoming more and more important these days, especially with all of our financial stuff happening online. Online security, fraud prevention.
Yeah.
What are some tips for staying safe and protecting our information?
So it's really important to be vigilant and protect yourself from those online threats. One of the most important things is to use those strong, unique passwords for everything online,
Right.
especially those accounts with financial information.
Strong passwords. Those are like the digital gatekeepers.
Exactly. So make sure they're at least 12 characters long. Use a mix of upper and lowercase letters, numbers, symbols.
Don't use the same password for everything.
Oh, never do that, no. And if one account gets compromised, you don't want them all to be compromised.
Right. It's like using the same key for, your house, your car, your safe deposit box.
Exactly. Also, turn on that two-factor authentication whenever it's available.
It's just that extra layer of security, right?
It is. It requires you to enter a unique code, usually from your phone or your email.
Right.
Makes it much harder for anyone to get in, even if they have your password.
Okay, so it's like a digital tripwire.
Exactly. And we talked about this earlier. Be careful with those phishing
That's
scams.
so tricky.
They are. So just be cautious about any messages you get, emails, text messages, calls from senders that you just don't recognize,
Right.
especially if they're asking for personal information or urging you to click on a link that just doesn't look right.
Yeah. If it seems off, it probably is.
Exactly. And if you're unsure, just contact the company directly, use their official information to verify.
Right. Better safe than sorry.
Exactly.
Okay, so what else?
Also, when you're using public Wi-Fi, be careful. Avoid accessing any sensitive information when you're connected to those public networks because they're often not very secure.
Right, it's like having a private conversation in a crowded room.
Exactly. And if you have to use public Wi-Fi, think about using a VPN, a virtual private network,
Okay.
which basically encrypts your connection and adds that extra layer of security.
So it's like a shield around your data.
Exactly. And last but not least, make sure you're checking your bank statements, credit card statements regularly. Look for any transactions that you just don't recognize.
This is regular financial checkups.
Exactly. And report any discrepancies to your bank or your credit card company immediately.
Sooner the better.
Right. So just by being a little proactive, following these tips and staying informed, you can really reduce your risk.
So it's about being proactive, taking charge. Okay, now I want to talk about something that's so important for our overall well-being, and that's financial literacy.
Right. Financial literacy is essential for making informed decisions and reaching your goals.
Yeah, it's like having those tools and knowledge to build a secure future.
Exactly. And it's something that we should be teaching from a young age.
I agree. I think financial literacy should be a core part of our education system. So what are some ways that parents can teach their kids about money and set them up for success?
Well, there are so many fun ways to do it. Give them an allowance, let them manage their own money. That teaches them about budgeting, saving, making choices.
It's like a financial playground. They can experiment and learn from mistakes.
Exactly. And as they get older, introduce them to some of those more advanced concepts like investing, credit, debt.
So you're gradually building their knowledge and confidence.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of modeling good habits yourself.
Right. Monkey see, monkey do.
Exactly, yeah. So if you want your kids to be financially responsible, show them what that looks like.
Right. You have to walk the walk.
Exactly. And for adults who maybe didn't have that financial education growing up, it's never too late to start learning.
Absolutely. What resources are out there for people who want to improve their financial literacy?
There are tons of resources, both online and offline. There are so many books, websites, podcasts like this one.
Yes.
Even workshops and courses that can provide really valuable information.
It's like a whole library of financial knowledge.
It is. And a lot of financial institutions, they offer free education resources and workshops to their customers.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
Yeah. And if you're looking for that more personalized guidance, if a financial advisor might be a good option.
Right. They can provide that expert advice tailored to your situation.
Exactly. Now, let's talk about another important part of financial well-being. Your career, your income.
Okay. Career and income. Earning a living is a big part of being financially secure. Yeah. So what are some tips for, advancing your career, boosting your earning potential?
So one of the best things you can do is invest in yourself.
Okay.
Invest in your skills, your education. That can lead to higher paying jobs.
Knowledge is power. It can lead to more opportunities.
Exactly, yeah. So whether that's, getting a degree, taking some online courses, going to conferences, or getting a professional certification, continuing to learn makes you more valuable.
Right. So it's like giving your career a superpower.
It is. And another tip is to network. Build relationships with other people in your industry.
Networking is so important. It's not just what you know, it's who you know.
Exactly. So go to those industry events, join a professional organization, connect with people on LinkedIn. Building those strong relationships, it can open up a lot of doors.
Yeah, it's like expanding your circle of influence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to negotiate your salary.
Yeah, salary negotiation, it's key.
It is. Make sure you're getting paid what you're worth, for your skills and contributions.
Right. So advocate for yourself.
Exactly. Do your research, come prepared, don't be afraid to walk away if it's not what you're looking for.
It's about knowing your worth, not settling for less.
Exactly. Now, let's talk about something that can be a little bit of a sensitive topic, estate planning.
Okay, estate planning. Not the most fun thing to think about, but it is really important.
Right. It's not about dying, it's about taking care of your loved ones.
So you're creating a legacy of love and support.
Exactly. And it's something that everybody should think about, no matter your age or how much money you have.
Okay, so what are the essentials of a good estate plan?
So a good plan usually includes a will, which basically lays out how you want your assets to be distributed after you're gone.
Okay, so it's like a set of instructions for your family.
Exactly, yeah. It can help prevent disputes and make sure that your wishes are followed.
And what other documents are usually included?
So in addition to a will, you might have a durable power of attorney, which allows you to appoint somebody that you trust to make financial decisions if you become incapacitated.
So it's like having someone step in and manage things if you can't.
Exactly. And you may also want a healthcare proxy.
Okay.
So that's somebody who's designated to make medical decisions for you if you're unable to do so yourself.
Okay, so making sure that your wishes are respected even if you can't communicate them.
Exactly. And then, depending on your situation, you might have other documents like a living trust or a letter of intent.
So estate planning is a pretty personal thing.
It is. It really depends on your individual circumstances, your family, your goals.
So it's important to talk to an estate planning attorney to figure out what's best for you.
Absolutely, yeah. Now let's switch gears and talk about something that often gets overlooked in personal finance. Generosity.
Okay, generosity, giving back. It's an important part of living a meaningful life, right?
Oh, absolutely. Generosity, it's not just about money, it's about giving your time, your talents, and making a positive impact on the world.
It's about spreading kindness and making a difference.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be about huge amounts of money. Even small acts can have a big impact.
It's the thought that counts.
Right. And, being generous can actually have a positive impact on you.
Oh.
Studies have shown that. Huh? Studies have shown that people who give to others, they tend to be happier and healthier. Giving back can really boost your mood, reduce stress, and give you that sense of purpose.
So generosity is kind of a win-win. It benefits the giver and the receiver.
Exactly. So let's talk about some different ways that we can incorporate generosity into our lives.
Okay, let's get inspired. What are some, meaningful ways to give back?
Well, one way is to volunteer your time, to a cause that you care about.
Right, volunteering can be such a rewarding experience.
Yeah, it's a chance to use your skills and passions to make a real difference.
Right, and you meet people.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great way to expand your network, too.
It's about making a difference and enriching your own life at the same time.
Exactly. You can also donate to charities or organizations that, align with your values.
Yeah, there are so many worthy causes out there.
There are. And even small donations can make a big difference.
Every little bit helps.
Yeah, it really does. And another way to be generous is to just be kind, be compassionate to the people around you.
Right, kindness is contagious.
It is. Those small acts of kindness, offering a helping hand, lending an ear, even just smiling at somebody, it can make someone's day and create this ripple effect.
It's about making the world a better place.
Exactly.
One interaction at a time.
Right.
Now, let's shift gears and talk about something that's often overlooked but is so important. Self-care.
Okay.
Self-care is a big buzzword these days.
It is.
But it's important, right? Taking care of ourselves physically, mentally, emotionally, that's key to living a happy and fulfilling life.
It is. It's not selfish. It's actually essential for showing up as your best self in all areas of life, including your finances.
Okay, so how does self-care connect to our financial well-being?
So when we're feeling stressed or overwhelmed, we tend to make impulsive decisions that we might regret later.
Yeah, stress spending.
Yeah,
It's a real thing.
it is. But when we take care of ourselves, we're more equipped to make sound decisions and manage our money better.
Right. It's like putting on your own oxygen mask first before helping others.
Exactly. So let's talk about some self-care strategies that can really support our financial well-being.
Okay. Let's get practical. What are some simple things we can do?
Okay, so one of the most important things is to get enough sleep.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, when you're well rested, you're more focused,
Hmm.
more productive, less likely to make those, rash decisions.
Sleep is a superpower.
It is. Another key thing is to manage your stress.
Okay. Stress. it can really sabotage your finances.
It can.
It leads to overspending, bad decisions, even health problems.
Exactly. So find things that help you relax and de-stress.
Okay.
Whether that's exercise, meditation, spending time in nature, doing something you enjoy.
So find those outlets that help you recharge.
Yeah, and come back to those financial decisions with a clear head.
Okay.
And, if you need to, don't be afraid to reach out for professional help. Therapists, counselors, they can give you tools and strategies to help you cope with those challenges.
It's a sign of strength to ask for help.
Absolutely. Another important aspect of self-care is setting boundaries.
Boundaries. Okay.
Yeah. This might mean saying no to things,
Okay.
commitments that drain your energy.
Right.
Maybe set some limits on your social media use, or even create a dedicated workspace to separate your work life from your personal life.
So boundaries are kind of like your personal protectors. They help you preserve your time and energy.
Exactly. And when you have those healthy boundaries, you can focus better on your goals, make decisions that align with your values.
So you're creating a life that supports both your, financial well-being and your emotional well-being. Okay. So let's talk about something that a lot of people see as the ultimate goal: financial freedom. What does financial freedom mean to you, and how do we get there?
So for me, financial freedom means having the resources and the flexibility to live life on my own terms.
Okay.
It's not about being rich, it's about having control
Right.
and making choices that are aligned with my values and what I want to do.
It's about having the power to design the life you want to live.
Exactly. And, achieving that freedom, it's a journey. It's not, you don't just arrive there.
Right.
It takes a combination of smart habits, the right mindset, and a willingness to grow.
It's a lifelong pursuit.
Exactly. So let's talk about some of the key pillars of financial freedom.
Okay. What are the foundations of a financially free life?
So one of the most important pillars is financial literacy. We talked about that earlier. The more you know about money, the better you can manage it, the better decisions you're going to make.
Right. Knowledge is power when it comes to money.
It is. Another important pillar is saving and investing. Okay.
Consistently putting money aside, investing it wisely, it's going to help you grow your wealth over time.
It's about planting those seeds.
Exactly. And managing debt responsibly is another big one. That high-interest debt, it can be a real roadblock to financial freedom.
It's like a financial anchor weighing you down.
It is. So by focusing on paying off debt, developing those healthy credit habits, you can free up more money to reach your goals.
Right. So you're clearing the path.
Exactly. And finally, you've got to have a growth mindset when it comes to your finances.
A growth mindset. What does that look like with money?
So it means believing that you can learn and grow and improve your situation, no matter what your past experiences are or where you are now.
Okay.
Embrace challenges as opportunities and see setbacks as temporary, not the end of the world.
So it's about that can-do attitude.
Exactly. And, when you approach your finances with that attitude, you're more likely to take action, look for resources, and really push through when things get tough.
It's about believing in yourself. Absolutely.
Believing in your ability to create a financially secure life.
Absolutely.
Well, we've covered so much today. What are some key takeaways you want our listeners to remember?
Well, I think one of the most important things is that financial well-being, it's not just about numbers.
Okay.
It's about understanding how our minds work with money, developing healthy habits, and, really aligning your choices with your values and what you want to do.
So it's about creating a life that feels both financially secure and personally meaningful.
Exactly. And remember, this is a journey.
Right.
We're always learning. We're always growing.
And don't be afraid to get help along the way.
Oh, absolutely. There are tons of resources out there, books, websites, podcasts, and of course, financial professionals who can guide you.
It's like having that team of financial cheerleaders on your side.
Exactly. And most importantly, believe in yourself.
Right.
You can achieve those dreams.
It's about the power of possibility.
Absolutely. And I'll leave you with this, something that's been really helpful for me. Cultivate an attitude of gratitude.
Gratitude.
Yeah.
Powerful practice.
Yeah. So when we focus on what we have instead of what we don't have, we shift our perspective,
Okay.
from scarcity to abundance.
Right.
And that helps us appreciate what we have, make more mindful choices,
Okay.
and actually attract more abundance.
It was like a magnet.
Exactly. So take a moment each day to appreciate the good things in your life.
Right.
Whether it's your health, your family, a beautiful day, cultivating gratitude can really change your relationship with money and with life.
It's about finding joy in the present moment.
Absolutely. And with that, I want to thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of personal finance.
Yeah, it's been great exploring these topics with you. I've learned so much.
Me too.
Yeah.
And remember, this is a marathon, not a sprint. Be patient, celebrate those wins, and never stop learning.
Yeah, and don't forget to check out the show notes for more resources. We've got links to everything we talked about and some extra tips.
We got you covered.
All right. Thanks for tuning in to The Deep Dive. We'll be back soon with a whole new topic.
Stay curious, stay informed, and keep striving for that financial freedom.
Until next time.